Well, hello, everybody. I've got a special guest tonight and very good friend of mine, Father Michael Marcantoni. Now, probably some of you already know Father Mike was here at Holy Spirit, was the priest at Holy Spirit when I got here at Rochester about 2 years ago. I had known him from before, and one of the great things is that we're not just fellow priests, but we're also fellow brothers in arms. So I really need to start this conversation by holding up my challenge coin, which I think Father Mike might or might not have. Does he have it with him? Oh, I have been busted. I have been busted. All right. So see, as a true soldier, he's always prepared. But very good friend of mine, and reason I got him on the show tonight is, as you all know, or most of you know, Father Mike has moved down with his family to the area of Nashville, and he started this really great workshop down there, and he's talking about a subject that really doesn't get a lot of airtime, and that is the topic of addiction. Now, that addiction could be drug addiction, it could be alcoholism, it could be a number of different things. But through his OCN network, and Father Mike's going to talk about that a little bit, he actually will have a presentation next the 28th. Is that 29th? I'm sorry, 29th, Father Michael? And he's going to have it on OCN. And so what we're doing is kind of using our channel here to just do a little bit of a preview, talk with Father Mike a little bit, ask him about that. I'm really excited for this new opportunity. I certainly want to tune in. So, Father Mike, tell us a little bit about what this is. You did talk to me, but I think it's really important that we talk about this at this time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Father Angelo. And it is a pleasure to be back here. Even though my body is here in Nashville, my heart is still up there in Rochester. So it just warms my soul to see an old friendly face from back home and to be part of this. I've watched some of your YouTube videos, and they're excellent.
Thank you.
I think it's great. I love all the instructional little stuff about all the little questions that we tend to get and all the things people wonder about. It's just a great job. So I have been a contributor to OCN for the last 3 years.
And just for those that don't know, OCN, what is OCN?
Okay, great. So OCN stands for Orthodox Christian Network. Just so everyone is in the loop, there are two online Orthodox media platforms, two big online Orthodox media platforms, OCN, Orthodox Christian Network, where I am, and AFR, or Ancient Faith Radio. On both of them, they're both online based, so you can get online for free. There's no passwords, there's no fees, and you can listen to podcasts, you can hear sermons, you can take in workshops. There's everything from there, and it's not just from priests and bishops and monks and nuns. There's learned lay people giving things too.
Oh, okay.
For example, on OCN, on I believe it's over the weekend, we have a lay scholar give an adult ed class, and there's other offerings because of the quarantine. One of our a Greek American female chef. She's a chef, and she's offering cooking classes over OCN on traditional Greek recipes. So you can do everything. So I mean, if you can imagine it. So there's news from the Orthodox world, there's commentary, there's sermons, there's podcasts, there's blogs, and these are the two big platforms where you can take that in and you can go for free. And the magic of that is you hop in your car for your morning commute, you pipe it over your Bluetooth, and you just learn some new things you didn't know before. All for free, all at your convenience. I've been on OCN as one of their contributors since the summer of 2017. It has been a blast. I've been doing on Wednesday nights, I've been doing a program called The Real Deal. And our program started with the idea of we wanted spirituality to be actionable. We wanted that the focus was for sort of a younger, boots on the ground sort of audience. How do we take the things of the faith and make sense of what to do next? It wasn't supposed to be like high academic theology, which I could do. It's supposed to be rubber meets the road. Now I've learned something. What do I do next? What's actionable?
and, and I
So
really like that, because that's what we're trying to do with our YouTube channel here, and that's why I'm really excited to kind of introduce my audience, is because that's what we've been doing with them, is just this very just down to earth, just having fun, kind of goofing sometimes. So what's this program that you're talking about for the 29th?
great. So Wednesday the 29th, instead of the usual program, instead of the usual live stream over there, Facebook Live, I'll be doing a condensed version of a workshop. So with the blessing of our hierarch, Metropolitan Nicholas, I've put together a workshop on addictions and Orthodox spirituality. It grew. Originally, my intention was to offer it here in Nashville. And then the Antiochians up the road heard about it. They liked it. They wanted me to offer it there. Our chancellor, Father Nick Kotsis, liked the idea. He wanted it in Ann Arbor, and so forth and so on. So interest spread. And then the idea was, well, we'll go and offer it as many places as possible. However, world events have not always cooperated, and we can't seem to get out of quarantine. So rather than wait till December to be able to do a half-day retreat, we're going to do a truncated version online. We're going to use my space on OCN. OCN has been gracious enough to host us. We're going to use my usual broadcasting time and space to do a special episode, and we're going to shorten what would have been, I had envisioned it being like a half-day thing. The total will be no more than an hour. So we're gonna condense it. But the idea is we're going to get the meat of the subject out there. We're going to get the best stuff out there, and hopefully that primes some interest and curiosity. And then down the road, when quarantine lifts, we can always go and present in person. It's a big topic, and so I don't think we're going to be exhausted by an hour on the 29th of Wednesday. Say one more thing. I'm not hosting it alone. There is a local physician here, Dr. Emily Adamopoulos, and she, in addition to being a doctor, her family she's had family members that they've had to get through recovery. So this is a subject that she's been passionate about for a long time. During Father Gregory's tenure here, he was my predecessor in Nashville. She presented with him. So I will be taking the front half of the conversation, presenting the pastoral, theological, and experiential side of recovery. And then Dr. Emily will take the medical side, as well as Dr. Emily will address the medical side and the family and community around the addict. So the people trying to support and help their addicted loved one, what do they need to know? And then we'll close it off with kind of an adjusted Q&A conversational sort of thing.
So there'll be some interaction towards the end. So
yes.
What kind? I'm kind of curious. So if you can tell us from the workshops that you've done, what kind of questions are you getting, or what types of people do you see in your workshops that might entice let's say my audience here?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is without a doubt, this is actually the first run of this particular workshop. We've prepped the materials, but this is the first go. I'd hoped to do it live first, and online as an addendum, and things have been flip-flopped. So I don't have a representative sample of what will be asked because this is the first one. However, I do have a point that I think your people will find interesting. And Dr. Emily confirmed this when we were chit-chatting and getting things ready. And that is, I'll tell you an exercise she did because this makes the point. When she was presenting along with Father Gregory in the hall some handful of years back, she said, show of hands, who knows that addiction happens but is sure that it happens to someone else? Not my family, not my kids, not my relatives. It's happening, but it's happening somewhere else. And thankfully, we had an honest crowd. She said almost everyone raised their hands. And the reality is that's simply not the case. It is your family. It's going to be your family. And I'll give you two examples that'll come up in the talk. Father Angelo and I, and they're on the two extremes. Father Angelo will, I'm sure, and you can falsify this and confirm or not, but Father Angelo and I have both had the experience of talking with a great many young people. And Father Angelo and I have both met the same person, although they actually take many forms. And that is, you meet a kid who goes off to college and they've disappeared. They're not coming to liturgy. And you're confused because this was your rock star youth group kid. Goya president, St. John Chrysostom Oratorical Festival, all of that. They disappear once they go to college. And you ask them and you say, why? What happened? And when you get them talking, something very interesting comes out if they converse long enough. And that is typically they value what they learned, but they go off, they go to college, they have some crazy wild weekend, try a bunch of stuff they weren't raised to try, did some things they weren't raised to do, and they feel bad. They feel embarrassed. And they feel like they can't come back to the church. And whenever I encourage them and I say to them, hey, this is your home, this is a spiritual hospital, you're welcome here, everyone's been through the same, their response to me is typically some version of the phrase, Father, you don't know these Greeks. So what happens? Well, now they're isolated. Now when they're isolated, what started as a bad weekend can now become habits. And guess what? The groups that do open the doors for them and the love and care for them in that moment of weakness, those are the ones they latch onto. And I've seen them exchange the truth of Christ for other pseudo truths that are much harder to believe. But why? Because in their moment of weakness, someone had a compassionate shoulder for them. It's a very delicate moment. That's one point that this sort of topic is going to cover, because the reality is how the culture that we create in our parishes around caring for someone who has a difficulty and an illness and a susceptibility like addiction, like alcoholism or any other addiction, the type of addiction is really inconsequential, sets a tone. And it sets a precedent for how that kid can expect it to be cared for. They can come back on the other hand and say, when Miss Pappas at the church, had trouble with her alcoholism, everyone rallied around her, and she's doing great now because the community supported her. I bet they'll support me too. See, that precedent, that lesson is a powerful thing. The other and last example, the other end of that is grandma. See, everyone else thinks it'll be someone else's Dimitra and someone else's Nikolaki. It's your Dimitra. Well, everyone else thinks it'll be someone else's Yaya. Father Angelo, do you know what I believe, if not the number one, almost the number one substance abused in the United States is right now?
I was going to say alcohol.
No, but it's right up there. Top 3 with alcohol, prescription medication.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So who gets more prescriptions than Yaya? This is actually a major issue among senior citizens. They have chronic pains. They have surgeries. They get a prescription for some sort of opiate to numb the pain, and then they can't stop taking it. Then they get hooked. And guess what? For the same reasons, Yaya will never tell you. She's embarrassed. Not only will she never tell you, senior citizens, in my respectful experience, are very sensitive to anything that calls into question their autonomy. They like their independence. So she's not going to have someone else take control of her medicine. And she's embarrassed because she's supposed to take care of everybody else. So now you have on either end, you've got young people who are susceptible to the opening door of addiction, but you've got senior citizens too. So guess what? That means everybody in our community needs this information, whether it's for your kid, your brother, for Yaya, or for you. This is something that affects all of us, and we're not talking about it, so we're going to talk about it.
So in terms of one question I've got in terms of inspiration, the YouTube channel for me, I was inspired to do that because I grew up not really understanding faith, and I had all these questions I wanted to ask, and I was told, don't bother the priest with your silly questions. So I was inspired to do this, to provide a platform that anybody can ask a question that they want. So my question, obviously, to you, Father Mike, is what inspired you to kind of take on this whole very important topic?
All right. So this is something that has been an area of interest for a long time. Now, so as I've gone lately, looking back at old sermons and talks and things I'd given, it turned out AA and recovery stuff was coming up a lot more frequently than I realized. And in October of 2018, OCN, during one of my episodes of The Real Deal, they had me talk about the opioid epidemic. They asked me to talk about that, and I remember really enjoying doing that episode. However, this particular talk does have a very specific inspiration. As Father Angelo mentioned, I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran of the war in Afghanistan. I was in the early part of the war, 2002 to 2003. I dealt with a lot of I brought a lot of baggage home from it. I dealt with a lot of it a long time ago. Some things took longer to deal with than others. And one of those unhealthy coping strategies was I started drinking too much. I developed a drinking problem. And I want to say somewhere within the last 5 years, it definitely became full blown alcoholism. And I hid it. I hid it pretty well. And I got around it pretty well. But here at the end of this past February, I couldn't hide it anymore, and I decided to face it. And I went to treatment. I did 30 days of inpatient treatment to get sober. And and being a priest, the whole time I was thinking, I'm like, how can I use this to help others? And so I'm new on that path. Both His Eminence and the Clergy Brotherhood and my presbytera are incredibly supportive. Presbytera is my biggest cheerleader, and she's just happy to have me healthy again. But we looked and said, we want to take these lessons and bring them out to our communities, because I knew far too many people in every parish I've served who needed this help. And there were too many times where I had to bite my tongue because it was like I could tell them certain things. I could speak about it in the third person, but I didn't have the courage to speak about it in the first person and say, hey man, I'm where you're at. Let me show you the way out. Well, now that we're there, why waste any time? I'd like to get this information in front of people, start helping them, and say, hey, Father's been where you're at, and we know the way out, so follow me. And that's that my own little trudge, my own little battle with the bottle, I guess, was is the inspiration for this particular round of talks.
But I think that's probably going to be your greatest strength, is the fact that as even Jesus says, that a prophet is not loved in his own land, right? So here you are, somebody that can actually speak from experience about what the difficulties are. So I think that's tremendous, and I certainly, through kids that I've seen at summer camp, through certain family members, through certain parishioners, that I've seen these addictions, whether they're alcohol, whether they're opioids, something else. But it's, as you said, it's kind of this thing that's covered up. And, and as Greeks, we have this idea that, we are got to be strong. We can't say anything. And so I think that this is a very opportune time for us to really engage in a great discussion. So I'm very, very, very happy to not only have you as a good friend, but to have you as part of this wonderful ministry that we're doing here. Now, you may not be as big a superstar as I am, but hey, there's always hope. There's always hope.
I got to shoot for something. We got to have goals. We got to have goals. I do want to say another reason why this is timely right now, why I hope you'll tune in. The number one factor driving addiction, even more than biology, is isolation. Either the sense of being isolated or the actuality of being isolated, or both. So with our continuous quarantine state, we have a great chance for isolation to sink its claws in, and that's happening. Addiction is on the rise because of that. There's definitely no time to waste in talking about it, because we are literally isolated in many cases right now.
Great. So, all right. Hey, Father Mike, again, thank you very much. And again, it's going to be then next Wednesday, the 29th.
July 29th. on OCN Facebook Live. So you go to the OCN Facebook page live at 7 p.m. Central Time, so 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
Eastern,
So
8 p.m. Eastern Time.
Rochester time, 8 p.m. on OCN Facebook Live, July 29th, last Wednesday of the month, this month.
And we'll certainly be broadcasting this on our YouTube channel. We'll have all the links and the pertinent information on our website. I'm looking forward to adding our parish and then our community to hear what it is that you got to say. Really looking forward to it, Father Mike. Thank you very much, huh?
So am I. Hey, great catching up with you, Father. It's a pleasure to see you.
All right. Talk to you soon.
God bless you. You too.